So everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Pack Unleashed. In this episode, we've decided to take you back, way back, to a simpler time, a time before the world had Pack. That's right, it's an episode where we're talking about the Pack origin story. So you can expect epic stories of how we met, how we once almost went fishing together, how John and Dom nearly fell out over the movie Groundhog Day. All this to come and more.
Okay, guys, so what's the inspiration behind the Origins episode?
Oh, well, I've always...
Why do you like origin stories, John?
Well, I like origin stories, Matt. Thank you very much for asking, because I've always loved those comic book issues or movies that take you back to when the before the characters, or, you know, the protagonist, antagonist.
Yeah, you want to know where they came from.
Yeah,
what made them who they are today.
Exactly, before they got their superpowers, before they got their special powers, before they get bitten by a radioactive spider, before, you know, whatever, before they started turning green and ripping their shirts off.
Well, I wish we had a story like that.
Well, maybe we do. Maybe we do.
I think you might have raised the bar a little bit too high.
I'm going to dial it back. I'm going to dial it back. Just to remind you, we did once almost go fishing together. So,
yeah,
just to set the bar.
Extent of...
Just to set the bar.
We didn't see a radioactive spider, but we saw a mighty big fish.
Exactly. So that's the idea behind the Origins episode. It's just, you know, it's all very well talking about where we're at and what we're up to, but I felt like it was a good time to step back and talk about where we come from. All right. So, guys, where do we begin?
Where do we begin?
Why don't we start with you guys? I don't know the backstory, you guys.
Why didn't we talk about when we first met?
When we first met, Dominic.
It was like one of those rom-com movies where you were sort of far away and I was running towards you, but we weren't getting any closer.
I saw him across the room and it was just love at first sight.
No, I met you at university, didn't I?
Mm.
I came home from a very long late shift to find you sleeping on the floor, or about to go to sleep at some godly hour.
So you were at university, Dom, and I was visiting your housemate, who was a friend of mine back then, and a very forgetful individual. He'd forgotten his keys to get back into his student house after the summer holidays.
That was it.
So we came and met you at the Slug and Lettuce, where Dom was serving beverages and fine foods.
And that was when I had my locks.
Yeah.
How many years ago was it?
God, how many years? This was...
It must be...
Like last year?
No. It must be at least last year. It's definitely 15 years plus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Longer. Way longer than that. 20?
No, it's not quite 20. But anyway, let's not reveal it.
We're getting old.
The lady never reveals her age. But anyway, it was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago because I had hair down to my waist. That's how long ago.
Hair down to his waist. He had lovely, beautiful golden locks. I know, it was just a mirage of perfect specimen coming out of the Slug and Lettuce with his house keys to rescue us. Anyway, we went back, myself and my pal, to the student house where Dom lived, and we were just chilling out and getting ready for bed and sleeping on the floor, because that's what you do when you're a student. And Dom comes back from his shift at the Slug and Lettuce and doesn't mind the people that are about to to drop off. He just basically makes himself a sandwich, sits himself down on the sofa and whacks on Groundhog Day. not that he started watching it and he's just finishing off the last half an hour.
No.
Start to finish Groundhog Day.
Yeah. So I was like, I love this movie.
Yeah,
and
so we were basically at Dom's feet as he sat and just chilled out after his shift. And so I thought, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah. That was when you were like, this is going to be a friend for life.
He's got like Michael Bolton hair. Don't get me wrong, I do love Groundhog Day, but you know.
And Michael Bolton.
Yeah, and Michael Bolton. When I'm just about to drop off and chill. Anyway, he had the upper hand because I was in your home of residence at the time. So
you were.
So yeah, we sat, or we lied, trying to sleep while Dom laughed repeatedly.
Well, we didn't back then.
Bill
We
Murray.
didn't have I remember that house so well because we didn't have a sofa or anything, and literally what they put in there was like the equivalent of what you get at the dentist with those like really uncomfortable sort of plastic coated seats.
Yeah.
And when we tried to replace that with a sofa, which we found in our neighbour's garden, we soon realised that was soaked in effectively cat piss.
Nice.
So we immediately removed it from the house and returned to the dentist chair. Things which you just couldn't sleep on. So
you're between a rock and a hard place there, aren't you?
It was a tough few years, I have to say. But we carried on, didn't we? We stayed friends after that.
We did stay friends.
Somehow. You didn't hate me.
I went to said uni and I thought, actually, this guy's all right. He just had a moment of slight character flaw there. Maybe is slightly more considerate than I first suspected. So yeah, we graduated uni and we moved apart and we did different things, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, we were both there doing kind of similar sort of things, weren't we? I was doing design and you were doing media studies, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did multimedia, which is a course I don't think...
I did media technology.
Did you?
Yeah, it's that kind of bucket all for interwebs.
Yeah, basically. This week you'll learn to make a 3D cube. This week you'll do a bit of Flash. Yeah. Exactly. So that was fun.
Grafting.
And then grafting away. So I moved back down to Brighton and me and Don, we always stayed in touch, and you moved down to Brighton a while later, and then back up, and then back down, and we always had this idea. It was always something that we talked about. We're going to do some kind of business together. It just felt right.
Yeah, we were like, we can make millions.
So business number one.
With these two faces, we can make some real money
in this room. The amount of talent in this room. So business number one was a small business. We started small. We got a permit to sell T-shirts, basically, didn't we?
Like printed canvases.
Printed canvases, and we actually got a permit from Brighton and Hove City Council, and we had a spot down by the old pier, the one that's basically fallen into the sea.
Yeah.
That was going to be the thing, wasn't it?
We were like going to make our millions.
We were going to make our millions. So we printed some stuff up, and that was it. And it was, started small. Dom never actually turned up. I did a single stall. However, I couldn't drive then, so I took the table, the decorated table, all the merchandise, everything on the bus.
I think you had a much better solution to producing stuff than I did. I was like, I'm going to take all these like pop art style canvases that I painted by hand. But they took so long to do that I literally I'd only done like one or two, and I was like, I can't go down with just those. So,
I think we needed to refine the product. Yeah. So
the business folded
in total. I think
quite quickly after making £15,
probably 35 quid on the business.
Yeah,
we made about 40 quid on the business, I think.
Some profit.
Some profit, yeah.
It's not negative.
Thank you, Mum, for coming to my stall. Buying some canvases.
Hi, John's mum.
Always making a guest appearance. And then we kind of went into freelancing, didn't we?
After that. A few years passed after that. I think I moved back up north, didn't I?
We did. You moved back up north and you moved back down, and then we were like, so we were freelancing designers. And I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit here to something else. So I'd kind of got into a rut of doing user interface stuff for like games and stuff like that, and it was fun at first. And I was just, I had a young family at the time, I still do, and I was just like, this doesn't feel right, but it's paying the bills. And at the time, Don was working for, we will name no names, but a local agency where he was kind of on a rolling good thing, but extremely bored, weren't you, Dom?
I was tired.
So bored, in fact, that he'd take the opportunity to have breaks. The only place that he could get away with having a break during the day, which was the men's toilet.
Yeah, that only lasted so long.
He'd go and sit and just chill out and watch, Facebook videos.
Nice.
And, in the loop. I was like,
if any spare time, I was like, if I could get away with it, I will. But then inevitably someone would come in, and then you'd be like, I've got to go. There was no choice. You had to leave.
So So yeah, we weren't exactly in our dream place at that point. We were both kind of bored. We were both, well compensated, but not doing the things that we wanted to do. So I think the personality types that we have, we realised that we needed to kind of come together and do something. So we ended up actually freelancing in said men's toilet establishment outside of the toilet together. And I think that's the first time that even though we were working for someone else, we kind of worked in the same place, wasn't it? And
And then we ended up sharing a space together.
We did, yeah. We kind of carried on freelancing. We got our first office. But I think the main thing was I was just like, I love this guy, man. I love the way he makes me feel every day. And we almost got separated as well.
We did.
The naughty boys.
Yeah, we were in a quiet office. All you could hear was John and I like laughing, crying.
I don't know why. I seem to be able to picture that.
It was,
when you're not meant to laugh in church, it's that kind of like, that kind of vibe. Just don't think we were used to being in such a quiet, place where everybody's quiet and doing their work, and it drove us to become naughty children. So we decided it was time to leave there, jump into our own office and see what we could set up. So the first company that we even got, I came across the files for this the other day. So we were going to create a company called We Believe.
Yeah. And I mean, given that Tim Capello is someone that we love from the Lost Boys, who sings "I Believe,"
I still believe. Just for anyone listening who doesn't know who Tim Capello is, what the hell's wrong with you?
What? We don't even
He's
need
the greasy.
It's all right, Dom. It's all right. I'm sure they'll find out pretty soon.
He's the greasy saxophonist. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it? Greasy saxophonist in the Lost Boys, and also Tina Turner's
muscly
sidekick saxophonist, legend of a man who wears chains around his neck and kind of constantly surrounded by fire. He still does. Yeah. You can hire him for a small fee.
Put a link to that in the bio of this podcast.
We will. Yeah. Support Tim Capello.
So I feel like he, in somewhat, perhaps inspired that title, even though retrospectively I'm not.
I think the idea was, so we were going to create our own.
It's not the worst title.
It's not the worst. No.
It's got passion and purpose.
It was more a branding exercise. It was like, we believe in good design. We believe in doing things differently. We believe in this. The problem is, it sounds like some kind of church or something. Some kind of like, there's definitely like connotations there, and it's a bit preachy. But it's more of a kind of campaign idea, I felt like, in the end. But it's all good anyway. So we got the holding page up, we started to talk about it, and then we kind of got busy, and it just never happened. And then
we just kind of carried on doing our own thing for a while, didn't we? And it wasn't, I think what the turning moment or the pinnacle moment was when we both kind of hit 30, and we were sort of like, I just had this, woke up and was like, oh my God, really need to sort this out. Yeah. Like I'm just
can't sit in men's toilets anymore.
Well, by that point, we'd been individually freelancing for almost 10 years. I'm working in-house for different people, but it was just not enough. I don't think there was a point where I was like, this is not enough. I want something else.
I think we were also driven. It was a common thing that we always talked about. Like, we don't want to work for other people. We want to do our own thing, and I think there was always a drive, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, Matt, and we'll come to your origin story in a minute once me and Dom have finished the bromance section. There's always there's always that drive in certain people and certain personality types to want to have your own thing and want to put it under your own umbrella and just own that as well. And I think, when we first started up, we definitely did not understand, the responsibility and what that would take. We were super naive. Yeah. And I think you've got to be naive. You've got to be massively naive. Otherwise you wouldn't do it. If someone said, oh, you're going to be lying awake sometimes wondering about this and doing that. And, is someone going to pay you? You're going to have to do this, that, and the other, and blah, blah. You never do it, would you? Never do it. Hang on, what are we doing?
What are you talking about? It's fine. We're in a massage sauna. It's all good. No, but you're right. And we, of course, inevitably in any of these things, you do naively jump into them. But
you do.
Our whole thing at the beginning was very much like, about doing great work and, things that we're passionate about and,
I remember us
taking
sitting
control.
in a coffee shop, coming up with a name, Wolf
Yeah.
Cub, which, we've been running for 7 years and saying, we just want to make cool shit for people, and just that was the thing we were most worried about. Basically, was we just want to make cool stuff that we like to work on for cool people, and that was it. And I think that's all you need to get going. Basically, some kind of talent,
Yeah, of course.
which I hope maybe we had a little of. And
you
then
need a bit of naivety. I think if you understood what running a business was as opposed to working in a business, I don't think in some respects you'd ever do it. If somebody told you all those things that John, you just mentioned, I think you kind of have to go in naively and then realise what it is and then have that passion to keep doing it, because otherwise you end up just building yourself.
Yeah.
Because ultimately
really
what
stressful job.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
end up taking on so many different roles as well and having so much more responsibility, and obviously there's pressure about earning money and things like that. But I think throughout that, if we hadn't have gone through that whole process, we wouldn't be where we are now, and we would never have matured and grown to what we are.
The beautiful blossoms we are today.
Beautiful packed blossoms. Yeah.
No, I feel like this period of time where we've been working together is really it's, from a personal perspective, I feel like it's made me level up, a hell of a lot, and I think you can probably relate. And Matt, from stuff that you've done, when you've worked on your own business as well, I think it's you just pushed more than you might potentially be pushed elsewhere, and with all the stresses come the highs as well, and there's some good stuff there as well. So how in the hell did we meet Mr. Matthew Pollitt?
Well, we've been injected by a spider, both of us, on a walk, and
Yes.
whilst we were out, we noticed something flying through the sky.
And it was Superman.
Superman.
And we were like,
Wait,
my God, we're not alone. There is another one.
There's another.
one, yeah.
There's a brother from another super mother.
How did you get in touch with him? Because I think I vaguely remember, because must have been about
2014.
2014, somewhere around that time.
That's a while ago now. So
I think
6
there was a
years
little
ago.
email exchange, wasn't there? I think you popped up on LinkedIn or something.
Yeah, I like to stalk people on LinkedIn who I like the look of, and I thought this guy looks cool.
Occasionally, it's been known to make a slide in a deck without that person's knowledge. But we're not going to go into details
Just
on that.
bringing in people of interest to the fold. But yeah, I saw this guy Matthew, and I saw that he was doing some cool stuff with his company 5K, and I thought, there's some synergy there. So I think I dropped you guys an email, you in particular, Matt, because I think you were. I don't know why just think you look the friendliest, maybe.
I mean, I am pretty friendly.
Super friendly, yeah.
See
You're
me.
big beaming smile.
Big
I thought that.
beaming, gentle giant.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. That's the kind of vibe he was giving off. So I was like, here we go. That's my man. I'll make contact. So I think I haven't actually got the original email, but it was something along the lines of, really liking what you're doing. Have a look at some of our stuff.
That does sound like an email from you.
Let's have a chat. And just go from there, really. And then we came to visit
Came
you.
to the studio, didn't you?
We came to
We came to the studio.
You came up to the studio, and I think it was our 4th year, and I think you came by and it was pretty empty in there at the time, wasn't it?
It was empty, so there was 3 guys and a big boat in the studio.
That's it.
Yeah, when we came in.
Yeah, it was a funny time for us. I think we'd been running 5K for about 4 years and had literally just gone through the worst period of losing both of our big clients that we completely relied on and forgot to do any new business outside of that. And you guys were coming up, and I think, if I remember correctly, we literally had to make, it was literally one of the most horrible periods in my life. We literally had to make most of the design team redundant at that point. And we'd already booked in to have you guys there, and you were coming up the next 2 days. And it was kind of like, wow, this is going to be fun. So I think we were probably a little bit less excitable than potentially we normally would be, as we were like, yeah, everything's fine, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Everyone's just gone out for lunch all at the same time.
I did think there was a lot of desks.
There was a lot of desks.
With a few people.
But yeah, no, we were up in we'd had 5K for about 5 years, and we did like loads of different work. We was pretty much, like you guys to a degree, a digital product studio. We very much focused on like financial apps. We did a lot of conceptual work and a lot of kind of consultancy elements as well. And we'd set up this lovely little studio up in Shoreditch, which was basically like a log cabin in the middle of Old Street. And
it was very nice.
it was a fantastic place.
Yeah, it was.
We got a little bit carried away with the refurbishment budget on it. I will hold my hands up to that one slightly. But yeah, it was an exciting time, and I think like most things, it was a company that I'd set up with two guys from Us Two, where I'd worked previously, and it was really good while it was good, and then it stopped being good, unfortunately. But it's kind of like you were saying, it's that sort of ups and downs of going out and doing stuff yourself. You're not guaranteed that it's going to work. That should never make you scared, because the things that you learn along that kind of journey are the things that I think have made me a much more balanced individual now, and changed an approach to the way I work and the way that kind of I'd like to have a company and what it does.
Yeah, I think without that experience, experience is what builds you, isn't it?
Yeah,
Experience
a lot of people shy away from negative stuff, and I think I've always tried to talk about it openly, because it was we were one of those businesses that kind of got it all a little bit too early. So we came out the door, three of us. The company was called 5K because we put like $5,000 in each. And then didn't pay ourselves for 3 months. By the end of the first year, we were like turning over about 650 grand. So it was like this ridiculous start of like instant success.
I remember coming in, you were all in gold chains.
We just covered the little gold statues in the corner. But it was like this, it was this kind
you
of.
were wearing like a mink coat.
That's it. Yeah, the chinchilla hat,
smoking jacket.
But it was this amazing kind of like rapid growth, and with that came an element of complacency, to source another new business that you feel that you've made it so quickly and it's gone so well that actually that's just going to keep going, and it's a natural progression that all of a sudden you're going to have like a 30-40 person studio. And I think as one of the 3 directors, there's ways that we could have kept that going longer, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way. But it was an amazing journey to kind of get there.
Exactly.
Obviously, I even gave you a free rebrand on the day as well, didn't I? From what
free rebrand, you called us Wolf Club, which almost ended the relationship.
I know. I was like, "This is a brother in need," and then he said that, and I was like, "Right, we're leaving."
Yeah, right, we're off.
Throw him in the gutter.
But I remember meeting you guys. I remember it being really cool because at the time, I think you had an office down in Brighton, like right near the seafront.
We did, yeah.
And we'd been through all this stress, and like we had like 10 to 15 people working there at any given time, and there were like these 2 guys that came in that were working on this really cool work with a great kind of visual style to it, and literally worked right by the beach. And I was like, I wish I worked by the beach.
I wish I was these, bro.
I wish I could just escape and just like have that kind of balance back, because like obviously London is a hugely full-on competitive place, especially for design. Obviously, we plunked ourselves right in the middle of every other digital design studio in the world.
Of course, yeah. I do remember, one thing I do remember from coming to visit you, Matt, was the giant boat suspended above
the canoe, yeah,
giant canoe. How long was that? Like, it was at least 20 foot long, wasn't it?
It was I think it was a 16-foot canoe.
16
might have been
canoe.
a bit longer than that, and it was the carcass of one of these ones that it was from the 60s, and it was basically you'd fold it up and put it in a backpack and go down to like into the Amazon, and then unfold it all and put it together.
See, that's exactly what you need in Shoreditch, right? A foldable canoe.
So we decided to hang one of those from the ceiling and drop lights through it. And then
how many beers did you have that evening?
Probably too many. No, what I used to be like back then. But yeah, no, it was. We actually had an interior designer come in and help us sort of spec out the whole interior. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So we got a bit carried away with that.
Awesome. So I think as that meeting went, we both got our decks out.
Hang on, you've missed a bit.
I have. What's that?
I want to hear about the trousers.
Oh, Well, we were on our way up to London. I think it was like July or something, and we were on our way up, and I was like, I always had this thing back then. Every time we went to a meeting, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but we always pop a shirt on for a meeting or something, make a good impression. And I remember it being so hot, like flip flop weather kind of thing. But I was like,
shorts and sandals.
Yeah, I packed some trousers, and I said to Dom, I'm going to just change into my trousers, before we go up to see the guys or whatever, just to make sure. Wanted to make sure that I look nice and smart and stuff. And Dom was like, trousers? What are you talking about? You don't need no trousers. So I almost dressed up. Just for you guys.
You would have been surely felt really uncomfortable when you turned up.
I know. Well, this is the thing. And I remember getting into your office and thinking, God damn, it's hot in here. I'm glad I didn't succumb to trying to be formal. And I don't know what the hell I was doing really, because
it's good to wear big boy trousers.
Formal, yeah, big boy trousers. Exactly. Formal's not really where it's at for us. And since then, But yeah,
never worn trousers again.
Never. No,
it's more about what's underneath that counts.
Exactly. I mean, my legs are that hairy, you couldn't tell. Anywho, so we had a chat and we did that very designery thing of like, get your keynote out. Who's got the best keynote? Where did you source your icons, and did you use After Effects to do that little bit of animation and stuff?
Yeah, the stuff that none of our clients care about.
See. Yeah,
but
it was vital.
Yeah, it's like a deck off, isn't it? So we had our deck off and agreed that we both had some sterling design work within that, and then. That's it. And then we made a loose plan to bring the canoe down to Brighton.
We did.
And which never materialised. Exactly, which never materialised. But that was where we almost went fishing with Matt. Stay tuned for more great stories.
After this great commercial break, brought to you by our sponsor.
Matt's Canoes.
Do you feel like you've lost purpose in your life?
Yeah.
Do you feel that the projects that you're working on don't have a purpose behind them?
Oh, I do.
Oh,
Tell me
fantastic.
how.
Well, you should download the Pack Purpose Workshop.
Oh.
Guaranteed to give you many, many purpose.
Oh, many.
I will have to jump straight on that.
Thank you. Right, we're right back after that short commercial break.
Please don't do that.
No, we should definitely leave that.
So that's how we first met anyway. We didn't go fishing, unfortunately, but there is still time.
Oh man.
So roll on many, many moons and many, many projects while we honed our skills. Matt, your company 5K, as you said, was no more during that time.
About 3 years ago now, I think.
A few years ago, yeah. But we always kind of kept in touch. And then I remember you moved down sort of this way, and I thought, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that was a while ago, wasn't it? You moved down this way, and I was like, oh, that Matt guy, I did like that guy. I'm going to put on some trousers and and meet up with that dude and see what he's up to.
I think you did wear trousers that time.
I think I did, but it was December, so... But yeah, we had a near miss, kind of pack near miss, I call it now, which was like December 2018.
That's it, yeah, just before I took on that MD role for a contract.
That's it. So we met up and you were like, I'm no longer 5K, I'm a gun for hire. And I was like, oh, this sounds good. And I was like, well, we're doing something different too, man. And we're going to do this stuff called design sprints, and we're going to do this and that and the other. And there was like so much alignment that it hurt. And I came back to the office after that and I said to Dom, man, you remember Matt? Oh yeah, that guy with the canoe, the trousers. And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, I just feel like, there's some synergy there. And this guy, I feel like, he was like, what, work with him on some projects? And I was like, no, like a partner or something. I don't know, something. And he was like, you got all that from a coffee, is what he said to me.
I give good coffee.
He does give good coffee, and that isn't code for something. He does give a good coffee. So yeah. Shortly after that, we rolled into last year, 2019, and I remember we kind of. We caught up again.
Well, after that coffee, wasn't it? Because you said that, and then you called up again. I was like, "Oh yeah, I took it on this contract."
That's it. Yeah.
2 days later, I was like, and disappeared off the face of the earth.
So a couple of days later, that was it. Matt had, I think you had another. You probably had another baby, and you.
So many babies.
Yeah, so many babies, and you were just a busy man, and you took on a contract, and that was it. So that was the kind of near miss. So almost a year later, in November 2019, we did an event called Product Tank in Brighton, and it was a special one. And
It was very special.
Very special. And Dom's actually wearing the T-shirt today. If only you could see it, listeners. You would guess straight away that it was the Karate Kid, the evening of the Karate Kid workshop. And
that was a good workshop.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
Thanks.
I think we started talking a little bit again, Matt, and I think you were like, "Oh, I'm just out of this contract or whatever. I'm kind of back again." And I was like, "We should invite Matt to come to this event and come and see us in action. I think some good will come of it." So you came down.
I did.
Which was cool. And
no one else showed up, did they? Just me.
Just you.
We ran it with just Matt.
Matt was the Karate Kid. No, just to give it some context.
Matt, can you just run over there for us?
There were lots of people there. There was
lots of people there. We got invited to do Product Tank, which is a kind of franchise part of Mind the Product. They do all kinds of local product-related meetups all over the world, and usually talks and stuff like that. But we decided we would do an interactive workshop and we would do something different. So we did. We came up with the idea that we would fuse design thinking with, what else would you fuse it with? The Karate Kid. It's just makes absolute sense. And that's what we did. So we created a workshop, and I remember, Matt, you were in the front row that evening, and I just thought, he looks like he's having so much fun. Like every time a new slide came up, that Dom had spent like 2 weeks designing.
They were good looking slides.
I
mean, we did have to work on the timings around producing this type of content, but they were good looking slides.
He was like, "Oh, that slide's beautiful," So, slides aside, just generally, I remember, Matt, you just really getting involved. Whacking the headband on, getting up, telling us the name of your dojo and all the rest of it, and it was a really fun. It was a really fun workshop, and it was a really good kind of exercise to get to know each other a bit better. And that was the kind of catalyst, wasn't it? For Matt's free and available now. We're kind of at the point where we're looking to do something different. There's something in this, and the rest, as they say, is history.
It's kind of like present.
Yeah, the rest is present.
But when you listen to this, it'll probably be history.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on when we get this out.
This is it.
We're hackers no longer.
No, like positive history. It's like the beginning of the history of the... Because obviously the origin story, I reckon this will be played, maybe a couple of years down the line when...
I reckon people will probably keep coming back to this.
Reinvented the digital design game.
Exactly. Well, I think one thing that drew us together and kept drawing us together is that we always had shared alignment, when it was 5K and Wolf Cub, and then when we were in between stuff and we were looking to Wolf Club, sorry. Wait, it's Wolf Club. When we were looking to do something new, there was always that, I like what you guys are doing. I like the cut of your jib, So I think that's something, and that comes down to the kind of purpose behind what we're doing. So let's talk about purpose, Matthew.
I'm glad you took that.
I love a good bit of purpose to stuff.
I think one of the first things we did when we got together was really focus on what the purpose of doing it was. I think we, collectively, both of us had businesses which had, we've got to do some great work, and I think the purpose behind it was always doing that great work. And I think as we've got older, I can speak for myself, as I've got older and
speak for yourself.
As I've got really old, and
Super Badger.
And Super Badger, and you'd understand if you saw it on the internet.
It looks like a badger.
I can look a bit like a badger, a big friendly badger. I've lost my point.
You've ruined
I've got it.
Spiel.
Purpose.
He's got it.
Purpose.
Pointless.
Yeah, no, I think looking at what I wanted to do next, I really wanted to make sure I did something with purpose, and that purpose being to empower people inside businesses. I'm very fortunate that I got to work with lots of big companies, and I remember my first time I worked with a big company, which was Sony Ericsson, when I was at US2, thinking, wow, these guys are going to have all the answers. It's going to be so slick. And then seeing internally how, teams worked against each other, and, there was always this kind of everyone desperately wanted to work towards something and get something done. But, a lot of the time structures inside organisations and the way people worked stop the best work coming out.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think this like pack for me was about, okay, so how do we take the learnings that we've had from designing, digital products that are used by people all around the world, and some of the products still today, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people use. And how do we bring that into an organisation in this day and age where people want to change but don't necessarily know how to? And how do they adopt these different ways of working that empower their teams to make decisions and try new things and not be afraid of failure and change the way that they look at, both their business and their customers? And I think we were really aligned with that type of area. It's for us, just doing another website design or designing the skin for an application isn't really where we delivered the value. I think it was really about, how we help those people think about not just creating something, but the purpose behind creating something and the value that brings to both them as an organization and their customers. And we're just like the ability for us to work to build products that can kind of distill that into our customers and to the general community. I think, we want to be dropping all our knowledge bombs, I think we call them in the case. knowledge bombs deployed. But I think it is. It's that like I'm really passionate about the industry I've worked in and the people that work in that industry, and seeing people succeed and building stuff that change people's lives. And I think we want to be able to give all that stuff away and help people to learn, and then be there to get integrated into bigger companies, teams, and help them deliver that type of work, and kind of be that sort of facilitation conduit to help them get to where they want to be.
Absolutely. I think for Dom and I as Wolf Cub, under the Wolf Cub banner, we over the last 7 years, we've worked on so many different projects, so many organisations, from kind of startups to much bigger companies, and it's really interesting how differently aligned some of them are. Some of them are just, brilliant, but most of them are not, and a lot of the time projects are started, money is spent, hours are spent, people are getting frustrated because they don't work out what their purpose is, from the beginning. Like, what are we building? What are we doing? And I think, like you said,
the why.
Yeah.
Why are we building
what was the why? Yeah. And I think that was one of the things we were really hot on when we kind of came together and started talking about Pack. And it was we made it sound like, we didn't make it sound like a quick decision, because obviously there was many times and there was a few near misses. There was a lot of kind of feely stuff, wasn't there? It was like, well, I think this, and do you guys think that? And and this is how I want to do things, and this is how I want to do things, and a lot of alignment and stuff like that. And for a lot of people, and I know when me and Dom started something up, we were just like, we want to make cool stuff, let's go, register the company. Oh, we got a company, and I think this time round, I think the wisdom of our years has come out of the woodwork, and we wanted to make sure that, yes, we are all on the same page. Yes, we understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and who we're doing it for. And, that's very much, I just always feel like with projects and when I meet people, I just want to help them to do the best work that they can do.
Yeah, you want to leave a little bit of a legacy. And I think that's a thing that comes with age. I think you're less about just doing stuff for the money. Although that's important, obviously. I know I personally am more about like helping people. That is something that really drives me, like helping them to grow, helping their teams to deliver things more effectively, and themselves, their company make more money, or whatever it ends up being the outcome. Or
I think part of
we care, don't we?
Yeah. Part of the purpose behind Pack is just making sure that people are doing their best work.
If I want to find out more about the purpose, though, what would I do? If I'm a young company, and because this all sounds really interesting, I'd love to hear more about it. Where would I go? Is there a workshop that I could run to do this?
There is a workshop you could run. We actually ran it ourselves for working out our own purpose. So we chucked the link for that in the notes, comments,
In
words?
the show notes.
In the show notes.
See you in the show
Wow.
notes.
We need the king of podcasting to keep us up on the lingo. But it is at our website, which I believe is www.ridewiththepack.com.
Ridewiththepack.com.
Wow, I killed the link.
Sorry.
Killed the link. Couldn't resist it.
I thought you were just... Sorry.
Ridewiththepack.com/purpose-workshop. But the link will be in there because everyone always messes up hyphen.
And also, this is something we're giving away. You know, we're not charging for this. This is something that we're giving to you as a gift to help you because we believe in it so much and we believe in the value it can provide that we
The world would be a
want
better
you
place.
to do it.
Yeah.
You do have to sign up for emails though. That is
Okay, there is a
that one little hook in there.
small
But
token.
as I mentioned earlier, there are some knowledge bombs that will be deployed straight away after that, and we will make sure that there's no horrible spammy stuff in there. It's really just about kind of sharing the knowledge.
Yeah, no one wants to be spammed.
I think the thing is, and we've got the video evidence of us doing the purpose workshop on ourselves to prove it. That no matter what you're doing, if you're starting a big company, if you're starting a project in a big company, a small company, whatever, it's really good to get everyone aligned around the purpose and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and where everyone's going and what you're doing and why you're doing it, because life is short. It's too short to lose time on stuff that you don't know. You haven't aligned on
purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you have it, everyone. That is the story of how 3 ordinary designers became Pack, the super trio you see before you today. Thanks, everybody, as always, for listening. We'll be back every Tuesday, not every other Tuesday, as we said on previous episodes. We're going all in. Until then, like, subscribe, tell your friends and anyone that will listen. And we'll see you again soon.
See you next Tuesday.
Pack Unleashed. See you next Tuesday, guys.
Bye, Z's.
Bye.
Bye.